da. Dun, dun, dun. What is up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gearing Up. I am Greg. I'm your host, and this is Gearing Up. This is the Everyday Carry podcast that anybody can listen to, everyone can enjoy, and sometimes I'm joined by my wife, sometimes I'm not. I'm not tonight. Here's why. Let's talk about it. So, oh God, it is currently 5 after 10 on a Thursday night. Normally, if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you know we're in bed by now. This is way too late. One of us made it to bed, the other didn't. I'll give you a hint on who it is. April's asleep. If she notices that I'm not in bed, she's probably going to come looking for me, and then she's going to come in here and be pissed that I'm doing this without her. So it's going to be a super short, quick one, because we had every intention of doing it tonight, and then things got screwed up. Let me explain. So, if you've been following along at all, if you listen at all, you know we bought a house 8 or 9 months ago. There's all kinds of fun gadgets and stuff that I've wanted to buy since we got a house, since we own our home. We can do things like this. The number one gadget, I say number one. It's not number one. It's up there. It's top 5. Is a smart thermostat. Now, again, if you guys know me, I have history. I worked at Best Buy. I was a big gearhead, tech head, and I think that's what kind of inspired my love for EDC, and that's kind of why we are where we are. And so one of the things that I've wanted forever is a smart thermostat. And, you know, if you guys have seen the Nest and all that, that's what I'm talking about. And here's why. It's not... There's not any reason in particular. There's not like a definitive, like, I can really defend this answer. I just think they look cool. I think they're convenient and fun, and I can tell Alexa to turn the AC down now. So, I mean, there's that. And Google, since Google owns Nest, and we have Google in the living room and Alexa in the bedroom. It's weird. Anyways, we have a dumb smart home right now. But I just set up all the cameras around the house this past weekend, if you guys heard that episode. And I got this thermostat in, and I've been feeling like crap for the last like 3 days. And so my plan was to install it this weekend. And I thought, oh great, I'll have a productive weekend. We've got to do some stuff in the nursery. We've got to finish some stuff on our shiplap under our bar. And so I was like, I'll just knock out the thermostat this weekend too. Well, I got home today, and I had watched a bunch of videos on YouTube and stuff on like the installation process, and our house is brand new, so like I knew it was wiring wise it would work fine. And so I had kind of like gone through it in my head a million times, like this is gonna be a cakewalk. 4.5 hours later, here we are. Good God. And let me tell you, hindsight, it would have been super simple. Here's what happened. So I knew what I was doing. I pulled the old thermostat off and just checked the wires. I didn't touch anything. And then I went out to the breaker box and I turned off the AC. Now, for those that don't live in Texas, I don't use my heater much. And I still don't know the difference between a furnace and a heater, or if there even is one. But I turned off the breaker for the AC, which is the big chunky unit outside around the house. I did not turn the breaker off for the furnace. Mistake number 1. So when I got inside, I thought, oh weird, it's weird that the thermostat still has power, but in my brain I thought, oh, it's like an alarm clock, there's a backup battery. Mistake number 2. There's supposed to be a backup battery. There's a slot on the back of it for 2 AA's that I saw after an hour of swearing under my breath. So, if you're not, sticking with me, mistake number 1, didn't turn off the furnace breaker. Mistake number 2, I assumed it just still had power because batteries, which if I would have looked and opened my eyes, I would have seen that there were no batteries in the battery slots. So I go to town wiring it all up. And if you've ever done a Nest, you know how simple they are, which makes this evening's troubles even more ridiculous. But it's 5 wires, boom, 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 boom. You put them all in, they're all color-coded and named and labeled. And I put them all on, I mounted the back plate, I snapped the display on, and the Nest is brilliant. It'll tell you if a wire is not seated in its little thing correctly. And so it was like, your yellow's a little loose. I'm like, oh yeah, pull it off, shove the yellow in a little more. And sure enough, it needed it, Pop it back on, and it's like, we're not getting power from the red wire. I'm like, God, what is that? What? So I'm like, okay, let me make sure I turn the breakers back on. So I did. I went and turned the breaker back on. Like a freaking idiot. And still the same issue. So I'm like, what the heck? So at this point, April's pissed because I'm so focused on this thing, and she's trying to get dinner done and get Foster, have feed him dinner and give him a bath and put him to bed, because he was just done with the day, and I'm just laser focused. So I take a break, I go eat, give Foster a bath, and listen, I was lacking some patience. I just wanted it wasn't working. So in my brain, like brand new house, I was just thinking like, what did I break that's gonna cost me $4 million? And so I was just freaking out. I'm like internally, and I hope April listens back to this because I didn't explain. Of course, I'm a dude, and I didn't like vocalize like, "Hey, I'm just concerned that I might have ruined something." Um, so uh, we got Foster to bed, and I went straight back to work, and finally decided to call Nest's tech support. Spent 30 minutes on the phone with him, and let me just explain. Like, my breaker box is outside and around on the side of the exterior of the house. My thermostat is in the entryway, and the AC unit slash furnace is upstairs. Well, it's not the AC. I guess the AC unit is outside, but the furnace slash intake, I don't know, whatever you call it, is in the attic. So every time this guy wanted to troubleshoot something, which I had already done all of this, we had to go outside, flip the breakers, come back in, jack with wires, go back out, flip the breakers, come back in, check it, go back out, flip the breakers off, go up the ladder, mess with something. Anyways, it was a nightmare. I spent 30 minutes on the phone with them, and we actually got to the point where we installed the old thermostat, and it also did not work. So that ruled out a faulty Nest, okay. So anyways, he's like, you need to contact an HVAC specialist and get that. And I was like, no, there's no way I did anything that wrong. So I get off the phone, go back and forth, and I tried 10 different things again. And at this point, I'm just dripping in sweat because I've gone outside and upstairs and outside and up the outside. And oh god, it was obnoxious. And I call my dad. My dad spent most of my younger years building houses, so I mean, and he did a lot of stuff he would go in and do himself. So he's pretty handy. That's where I get my ability to work with AC units from. No, so I call my dad, and I'm just thinking like, he's not here. He doesn't live far away. He could have, I could have said, hey, come over. He would have, but we were just kind of chatting, talking it out at first, and he was pulling up stuff on his end and looking at it, and I don't know what it was, but it was helpful. And so finally he said, let me call you back. I'm gonna make a phone call and see if I can get a buddy of mine to help if he knows any, because whatever it was, we were sure it was a fuse. Jumping back to mistake number one, where I didn't turn off the breaker for the furnace, after trying to chase all of the wires in our attic, we came to the conclusion that the power source was coming back to that main board, and the main board was in the quote-unquote furnace. Again, I don't know why it's called a furnace, but whatever. Anyways, maybe it's just another name for a heater, but I feel dumb. I should just look it up. But we're going back and forth, and I'm like, I had done some watching on YouTube, and there were some people that mentioned fuses, and I'm like, you know what happened? I bet because I left the furnace breaker on, when I was going to shove the wires through the back plate to then set them in their spots, I'm sure a couple of them touched and burnt out a fuse. Like, that had to be it, right? So I'm talking to my dad, figuring it out, and I'm like, I feel dumb because I'm like, whatever, it's got to be a snake. It's going to jump out and bite me here any second because I'm looking for this board. Cannot find it to save my life. And there's this panel that's got two bolts on it. Now, listen, I understand that if you've got a control board, like a panel, like the panel on your breaker box, right, or the panel on your AC, or the panel where your filter is, like, yes, you want it closed securely, but I've never seen like bolts drilled in. So, anyways, my dad hangs up. He's gonna go call whoever, and so I pull up. I go and look up my model number for the furnace, and I'm like, I find the layout, the schematics. Schematics. Look at me. Um, and I'm looking and I'm like, okay, yep, that's where that is. Okay, that's where that is. Okay, there's the board. That's where it's supposed to be. Lo and behold, it's behind this metal panel that is bolted shut. So I go down, get my drill, come back, pull the panel off. Ta-da! There's the board that I've been looking for this whole time. It took me another 5 minutes to find the fuse and another minute or two to pull it out. And oh, yeah, it is. So it is burnt. Yeah, okay. So I just blew a fuse. No problem. Really, that's the climax of the story. It wasn't much more exciting after that. I needed a 3 amp fuse, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to Walmart because they have fuses. Go to Walmart, they don't have any 3 amp fuses, and it is now 8:54, and O'Reilly closes at 9. So I would say that I broke a few laws getting over there. It's really not that far from there. But I know like these small towns and like kids have those jobs and somebody's gonna lock the door at 8:56 and roll out like they're just dead. So I pull up. Sure enough, there's somebody in there. The door's still open, so thank God. And go over and boom, they've got a pack of 3 amp fuses for like $4. Holler. So now I've got spare fuses. Came home, made sure the power was off, went and replaced the fuse, went and wired everything up properly, and then I went and turned the breaker on, and it still did not work. I kid you not. I was going to murder someone. Well, let's circle back to that bolted on panel. There's a what I can only describe as like a safety switch or like a sort of like a dead man switch, but for this panel. Because I noticed, like, I know the kill switch is not on because there's a kill switch for the AC right there, the furnace, whatever. And I know the breakers are on because the light for the attic is also on. So I'm like, something's going on. So I see this giant black switch, and it's where the panel was covering. So I push it, and the little light comes on for like a half second. So I press and hold it, and the light stays on. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I just have to hold it to reset it. So I held it for like a minute, and nothing. The light was solid. So I'm like, oh, this is weird. Well, then it finally clicks. I've got to bolt the damn panel back in place so that the panel can hold the switch down. Oh, God. And you know what? The Nest thermostat works freaking fantastic. Oh, I closed it all up, came down, and no more error. So, listen, I take so much from that. Number one, don't ever do a project like that on a weeknight. Number two, don't ever do a project like that when your wife is frustrated and 6 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant, and trying to get a 2.5-year-old fed and in bed. And, don't be an idiot and turn the furnace thing off too, because that would have saved me all of this trouble. Yeah, but anyways, I hope that story was even remotely entertaining. But that's all I've got, and that's I just wanted to tell this story and like explain what's going on, and uh, my mom, she's so funny. I was calling her bitching about it the whole time, and I was on my way to Walmart. But yeah, so I just wanted to jump on and create an episode and record and talk about tonight and talk about why we're kind of late. I've been under the weather, if you can't tell from listening to me. Like I've had a little bit of a sinus infection, and we've just been crazy busy. And like Tuesday night, like I went to sleep at like 8. I was just out. Normally I'll get in bed and I'll stay awake for a while, but I was just out. And last night I tossed and turned all night too. So, uh, you know, here we are. And I'm about to go. It's 10:19 right now. I'm about to go as soon as I export this and upload it. I'm out. Um, but again, I wanted to make sure I got an episode out, and I'll do a proper episode on Monday, just to give you guys an update on what this Nest thermostat is like, and all of that. So, Anyways, yeah. Ugh. Now I'm just rambling because I'm super tired. But anyways, I do have some ideas in mind. What I was going to do tonight, I will do on Monday, and it's just going to be kind of a gratitude episode. I picked 5 makers that I wanted to feature, and it's really, in addition to their awesome products, it's really just them as people and how cool they've been and how supportive they've been to me. And so, yeah, be sure to tune in on Monday so that you can hear that. Of course, if I forget that I said this, then I might talk about something else. But you guys know how this works. Anyways, that's it for tonight. I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna go to sleep. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Enjoy the funny little story about how I failed miserably at making my home a little bit smarter. But again, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. If you're not, thank you guys for the continued support. Be sure to leave us a rating. Jump on iTunes and leave us a review. Tell everyone how awesome we are. And then spread the word. I've been saying it lately, and I've seen a few people do it. Share this on your stories. Share this on your feed. If you know somebody that might be into an everyday carry-esque podcast. I know obviously episodes like this where we don't even talk about everyday carry, but that's why I say esque, because there's some episodes like this. But anyways, thank you guys again so much for the continued support. Go back, and if you're listening to this within like the first day, go back and check out my Instagram story and see who won the giveaway. And I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Thank you guys, and have a good night, day, afternoon, whatever. Peace.